In memory of Augustus. A finer hunter and companion there never was. Paulina. I think I took good care of her over the years. I still maintain that till this day it is the most beautiful doll the world has ever seen. Not counting Matilda, of course. I don't usually care much for awards, but this one feels special. It's the highest honor given by the Medical Academy for groundbreaking contributions to hematology. All that blood research the doctor and I used to do really paid off. Took decades to conduct, but luckily, I had no shortage of time. Had to use an alias, of course. Can't keep my real name on the records. Otherwise, over the decades, people would catch on, especially now with the internet real. Anyway, the name may be fake, but the lives we helped save were very real. All of Anastasia's lessons weren't in vain. I'm glad I stuck with it. With a little practice, even the least gifted student would become decent in 100 years. I may have not taken it much further than that, but I'm proud to say that many a guest has been entertained with this particular instrument. An appraiser friend of mine recently looked at this painting. Turns out, over the decades, it appreciated in value and is now worth a small fortune. Don't think I'll ever sell it, though. Means too much to me. I heard vampires get quite attached to their possessions as they get older. Guess I'm not immune to that.
Well, Oksana, only a few hours left till we get to celebrate the much-anticipated year 2000.
The new year is flying fast towards us, and what better present for the nation than the first annual address of the newly elected President Chernov?
Absolutely. It's been a tumultuous year for our country with the tragic, sudden passing of the former head of state. Luckily, Anatoly Chernov promptly took matters into his own hands, first as acting president and now as president-elect after the results of the official emergency referendum.
That's right, Maxim. President Chernov has already demonstrated his firm and efficient governing style. In his short time in office, he's issued orders to reinforce the defensive military budget, and has also introduced a zero-tolerance policy towards illegal immigration.
Finally, our people will have the much-desired stability back into their lives.
Can't wait to hear what he has to say at midnight.
Me too. Say, Oksana, what are you going to wish for when the clock strikes 12?
Well...
Fools.
Looks like your ride is here and already causing a nuisance. That bastard woke me up from such a beautiful dream.
And what was the dream?
That all the annoying drivers in the world were dead, obviously.
Right. Of course.
Hey, are you all right?
Yeah.
You know you don't have to do this, right? Besides, it's not going anywhere. Why don't you come to the party with me tonight? Should be good fun. Arban sent us a case of that delicious vintage Cabernet.
I admit, it's very tempting, but I'm sorry. I can't. I have to do this on my own, and I have to do it now. I don't know why, but I feel that tomorrow won't be the same.
Fine. You've always been a stubborn one.
Look who's talking.
You know you can call me any time, right? If you're in any trouble at all, just send a word and I'll tear them apart before they can say Happy New Year.
I bet you would, but I'll be fine, I promise. I'm pretty tough myself.
That you are.
I better get going before the car leaves without me.
Tell him if he wakes me up again, I'll curse his kin to the 5th generation.
I will. Love you, my queen.
Love you too, princess.
Getting close now.
So, here I am again. Good to be back. It's hard to believe the last time I set foot here was around a century ago. Vampires generally aren't allowed to stay in the same place for more than 20 years. Otherwise, people start asking questions. Small towns have surprisingly long memories, but you can usually come back once it makes sense for you to pass as your own offspring. Nowadays, they call permission to stay a vampire visa. Higher society granted me one for this town decades ago, but I just haven't been ready until now. I'm not sure why, but I feel like I owe my old friends a visit in this new millennium, even if it is at a cemetery.
Here we are. That will be 200 coins.
I thought I asked you to stop by the field.
Sorry, lady. No dice. Too much snow.
$200? That would be a ripoff even if you brought me to the right place. But you know that yourself, don't you? Here's 120, and that's with a tip included, considering it's New Year's Eve.
Fair enough. If you don't mind me asking, why did you choose to come here? This place is, well, it's a bit of a hole. No offense.
None taken. Trust me, I know. Honestly, I'm not so sure myself. I used to live here. I guess I just wanted to walk down memory lane.
Well, good luck with that. And hey, Happy New Year's Eve.
Happy upcoming New Year. This place sure looks grimy, but not without its own kind of charm. Kirill, it's been a while since I thought about you. After the night when he seemingly hit rock bottom, or rather consciously realized it for the first time, he was never quite the same. Needless to say, things between us became intangibly awkward. He stopped cheating at cards and overcharging customers, and got some quality ingredients for food and drink. I never took part in another scheme of his, and from what I can tell, neither did he. I think ultimately he lost his passion for his work and sold the place. I didn't hear much about him after that. Perhaps things could have gone differently if I told him something else that day. But who's to say now? To many people's surprise, Anastasia and Evgeny managed to fix their marital problems. After the miraculous outcome of the duel, Evgeny got himself together and quit drinking once and for all. Seems that the key to their happiness was in mixing up the traditional roles. I enjoyed many a dinner with the two of them and their adorable children, and I must say, Evgeny was a much better cook than Anastasia ever was. Furthermore, they managed to find true artistic harmony, using their combined talents to create something beautiful. Not even a year after the events of that fateful summer, they finished an opera with Anastasia's music and Evgeny's lyrics. It was a great triumph, and nowadays rightfully considered a classic. They both enjoyed many individual successes in poetry and music, and lived in the same place their whole lives. Anastasia told me that after having children, the house never seemed empty to her again. She did, however, insist on redecorating it entirely. Of course, with the exception of the garden, which was perfect from the very start. After our conversation about his future, to my surprise, Dr. Volkov took my advice and ended his partnership with the Countess. It took some time and a lot of effort, but he was able to overcome his blood addiction and soon enough resumed his usual work with the patients. Dr. Volkov and I still work together, only now I get to be the one in charge. He's head of medicine at my clinic. The change in power dynamics never seemed to bother him. He always cared about the medicine above any kind of politics. He still, of course, has a tendency to overwork, but luckily, his lovely spouse Marina never lets him dive off the deep end. He may not have achieved his dream of revolutionizing Cabernet, but who knows if it was ever even possible. In this way, the doctor and so many people around him, including his patients, are happy and healthy. This monument was built to commemorate the brave men and women who saved dozens of lives and prevented further disaster during the town hall tragedy. That night indeed became an important one in the town's history. Due to Ivan's bomb being defused, the rescue operation was swift and simple, and those who weren't already dead or dying all made it back home. I wish the sign mentioned Gosha by name. She was the true hero in all this. Without her, just like it says there, the outcome could have been a disaster for the ages. Since so many of the horrors beneath Town Hall were vampire-related. Shortly after the rescue operation, the higher society sent a hypnotist crew, a well-trained, powerful group of vampires. Of course, there wasn't any enchantment strong enough to completely remove those memories. However, they did manage to alter them enough to convince the humans that what they saw was all standard prison torture practices. Horrible and illegal, yes, but nothing beyond the depthless depravity of mortal beings. The corpse chamber and draining floor, no more than a gruesome dream that faded with the sunrise. The infamous Savely Skortsov, the purportedly non-corrupt mayor of town, ended up being a ruthless sociopath. The fact that Gosha defused Ivan's bomb meant two things for him. One, that the building didn't crumble on top of his own head after the explosion, meaning that he survived the night. And two, that when I took the townsfolk to help free the prisoners, he was taken by surprise and captured. As one would imagine, given Savelli's deeds, he spent the rest of his life behind bars. Perhaps his greatest legacy is that he became somewhat of a folklore figure. Mothers in this area often frighten their children by telling them that bloody Savelli will snatch them up if they don't behave. In contrast, the next mayor the town elected remained in his position for nearly a decade and was entirely inconsequential. During that whole time, he arguably did less to improve the town than Savelli did in a few months, but then again, he didn't organize brutal murders beneath town property. Well, at least that we know of. The Countess, predictably, kept adjusting with the times and growing her fortune. After the Cabernet producing facility at the town hall was destroyed, she took a loss and had to pivot. However, when the doctor terminated their contract, she never ended up finding a decent replacement. It didn't take her too long to bounce back, though. More partners came forward soon enough, and eventually other business opportunities presented themselves. Some say the Countess is now running one of the biggest mafia networks in the country. It's only rumor, of course, but in all honesty, I would certainly not put something like that past her. Viktoriya still works for the Countess. Say what you want about her, but she's a loyal one. It clearly didn't go unnoticed by Countess Orlova, and, albeit unofficially, Viktoriya is widely considered to be her number two. They say she leads the departments that are heavy on the dirty work, since the Countess trusts her. Rumors, of course, but rings true, doesn't it? What can I say? There's never a dull night with Alisa. There aren't many who have the privilege of being friends with this mysterious creature, so I'm proud to be one of the lucky ones. How many vampires can say that they've seen the sunrise after being turned? I am yet to meet another but her. Only her unique blend of intelligence, passion, and a touch of madness could achieve such results. Her technique, however, brought about much more than just her famous sunrise paintings, which I must say are a huge hit among the vampiric community. I often use a version of it in my clinic for both vampire and human anesthetic purposes, and have helped introduce this practice throughout the vampiric medical community. When her vampiric visa in town expired, sadly, Alisa had to abandon her hookah bar. Such is the fate of most vampiric enterprises. However, people remembered it fondly years after its closure and told stories of legendary nights spent there. The tales grew with embellishments until no one knew what was true, like any good story eventually does. There were vampires who attempted to recreate Alisa's success by building their own such establishments, but no one was able to quite capture her same type of magic. Still, wherever she goes, she manages to start a new venture and turn it into something special. To selfishly put this all aside for a moment, I'm just so incredibly happy we're together. Who knew that I would fall for someone like her? But then again, there really isn't anyone quite like her, is there? While I still lived in town, Arban stayed here for as long as her vampiric visa allowed. We had our fair share of adventures together, and to this day remain close friends. When she finally left, for a while she tried to maintain her establishment from afar. But alas, literary salons went out of fashion, and eventually they built a regular housing project in its place. Arban overcame her internal struggles about siring and ended up taking several fledglings under her wing. Unsurprisingly, each and every one of them is well and thriving. She often credits me for that, but really, she's always cared for the newly turned, just like the moment I first met her. Arban eventually moved abroad, but still sends me a case of delicious red every year. What do you know? The store is still here.
If you're looking for champagne, vodka or flowers, don't bother. They're all out.
Is that right?
Well, why else do you think I'm still open? All the demand, no other supply. That's good business.
Happy New Year's Eve. The bouquet over there, please.
Cutting it a bit late with the presents, aren't you? You'd better hurry home, or you'll miss the president's speech.
Thanks, but I don't think I'll be watching this year. Not my cup of tea.
What? Why not? Don't you care about your own country? See, that's the problem with your generation. You hold nothing sacred.
Oh, really? And what generation do you think that is?
Generation of spoiled brats. You've seen nothing, done nothing, and fought for nothing. You have all the freedom in the world, but no, you just complain and demand more. Show some respect and be grateful for once.
Are you finished? Listen, I'm not who you think I am, but I don't expect you to understand that. Mark my words, I've seen this happen to our country time and time again. At this point, I feel it in my bones, like how some with arthritis can feel rain coming.
What are you babbling about, girl?
Every time there was hope, a person like that man came to crush it. No one has found a way to break the cycle yet, so, of course, I've come to not expect much. All I'm asking is, think and care about your fellow man. Then, make your own choices.
How much have you had to drink?
Enough for a lifetime, trust me. Happy upcoming New Year. It's moments like these that I regret making fun of the hussar for smoking.
Are you all right, dear? Hope you don't mind me asking. You look out of sorts.
Yes I am. Thank you.
Do you have a place to go tonight? It's New Year's Eve, after all. No good being by yourself.
Thank you. I do have some old friends I'm visiting.
Oh, that's lovely. Just lovely. You know, I overheard what you were saying back there.
Did I get carried away?
Goodness, no. I would have said the exact same thing. I was just like you when I was younger. Didn't let anyone walk over me.
I'm not as young as I look.
Let's talk again in 50 years, dear. See who's right about this.
Sounds good.
That Chernov, though, he's trouble, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just as we managed to turn this rusty ship around, they're pulling the wheel again. Still, all this time, I never lost hope. Not once. And you shouldn't either, dear.
Thank you. I think I needed to hear that today. You know, you remind me of an old friend of mine.
Friends, of course. Sorry for keeping you, dear. Your friends are probably wondering where you are.
Don't worry, they're quite a patient bunch nowadays. Do you need any help carrying your bag?
Oh no, bless you, dear. I live just around the corner.
Really? In the old apartment building?
That's the one. My great-aunt used to own it before the revolution, and I inherited it. I'm very lucky. It's apartment number 1. Stop by for a cup of tea sometime if you feel lonely. Have a wonderful year, dear.
Thank you. And you. Well, what do you know? Locked. Can't blame them, really. I guess I'll just have to do it like in the good old days. To my relief, Demyan was among the many lucky survivors who were rescued from the town hall dungeons. Perhaps even luckier, Demyan never ended up on the lower levels of Savelli's underground prison. That left him relatively unscarred, and soon enough he seemed to be back to his old playful self. One thing did seem to change, though. After the events of that night, I certainly noticed him working in the fields much more often. It's hard to find a silver lining to what transpired, but I suppose scaring Demyan into a working man may have been one of them. Ah, sweet Roman. He ended up traveling around the world at least 3 times in his lifetime. He managed to connect with all kinds of people and hear the legends of their homes and ancestors. It wasn't just for his pleasure either. He published several tomes on world folklore, which were translated to dozens of languages. He loved the people around him, and he shared that love in his favorite way, through his books and stories. Gosha proved herself a true hero by disarming the bomb prior to the attack on Town Hall. Many assumed that after Ivan, their golden-throated leader, went to prison, the local revolutionary cause would fall apart. But, yet again, brave Gosha came to the rescue. She assembled what was left of the group and pivoted towards peaceful change. Ultimately, she turned it into a legitimate political party that existed for decades after her eventual passing. During the years she led the movement, she helped steer the country away from many a tragedy, although, of course, plenty couldn't be avoided. I'm happy to report that Petya is still alive and well. He is, of course, still bound to Matilda's body, but at this point, I think even if someone offered him a different form, he'd turn it down. He may have never made it as a great salesman, but, in a way, the fact that he no longer interacted with customers in his new body only did him good. Petya opened a small doll boutique, and, it turns out, when someone else was selling his dolls, people absolutely loved them. He never took it personally, though. Petya was just happy that the dolls found good homes. Of course, to open a business, he needed a human for the paperwork, and who happened to step up but his old friend Alisa. She was the face of his company for quite some time, during which they became the best of pals again. Human or vampire, that's something I never imagined happening in a million years. But life is just full of surprises, isn't it? The funds I provided helped Marusia pursue the path of education that she so longed for, without her needing to worry about her family. Of course, with all her talent and natural stubbornness, she had no trouble whatsoever getting accepted to the best university in the country. Marusia never forgot her community, and upon graduation, she came back to the village and helped make it prosper. Neither her family nor anyone else she cared for wanted for money and bread once she turned things around. Although I always considered the money I gave Marusia a gift, she insisted on paying me back every single coin. But she didn't stop there either. Inspired by Anastasia's kindness and commitment to her craft, Marusia opened her own school to help children from low-income families. She arranged special stipends for the most promising students, and, with her help, many of the peasant youth from across the country managed to receive higher education. When she first built her school, she made sure to prominently display the violin I gifted her, accompanied by a plaque dedicated to me. In her later years, the school grew and branched out to different campuses across the country. I knew she was a special one from the start. I couldn't have been more right. Trofim ended up working for the Countess for the rest of his life. He didn't drink much ever since our first encounter and lived well into old age. Was it a happy life? Who's to say? Perhaps it's not just drinking that makes one miserable. I only knew Faina for a short time, but somehow the memory of her has never faded. She meant a lot to me. She still does. I took care of your flowers as best I could, for as long as they lasted. Rest in peace, dear Faina. I didn't know exactly what to expect when I told Gosha about the bomb, but she sure came through that fateful night. As I learned later, Ivan devised a backup plan in case the bomb didn't end up being delivered. But what he didn't plan was on his right-hand woman deactivating the explosive before handing it over to him. When the townsfolk saw what happened and understood the scale of the tragedy that was barely avoided, Ivan was swiftly thrown into jail. I didn't hear whether he was ever pardoned, but I do know for certain that he never returned to politics. Oleg and I never became close, but at least till I left town he kept running the shop and seemed to be doing fine. Although I'm sure he would have preferred to keep his hand. I always felt a sense of gratitude to him for sparing him. In retrospect, I think I'm glad I didn't end up taking a life for an old grudge, albeit a very heavy one. I wonder if the Rusalka is still out there somewhere. Did she ever forgive him? I did what I came for. I suppose it's time to go home. Oh! strange. Snakes usually brumate over the winter. Their metabolism slows down, they stop eating, and hide out underground till it's warmer. Nobody must have come here for ages. I bet I scared it out of its hiding spot. Slithering back to the shadows. How the mighty have fallen. Oof. The church sure has seen better days. What does the sign say? Condemned. Wait a minute. So, it's not technically a church anymore, and I don't need an invitation. Does that mean I can enter it? Wow. It's been over a century since I've been inside a church. I'd forgotten how it looks, what it smells like. I'd forgotten how much I missed it, how much I wanted to come in sometimes when I was scared and lost. Oh, damn it. The Morozov family. Minus me, of course. I remember how, even before I was allowed to touch matches, in church, Mother would let me light candles for people we knew. I loved doing it, partly because of the excitement of the dangerous forbidden flame, but it was also more than that. Even before I knew what it meant, it felt important. Why don't I light some candles now? I may not get another chance. I should get the candles first. There. People tend to only say good things about the dead, but we all knew Father was far from perfect. Slowly but surely, drinking turned him from a kind and loving person into a monster. And I know more than most what it means to be one. But some fairy tales do have a happy ending. He managed to quit drinking soon after that fateful summer. I couldn't have been more proud of him. I might be giving us too much credit, but I feel like Kolya and I might have had something to do with it. Mom stuck with him through the rough months. Uncle Mitko helped out with money before they got back on their feet, and from what I gathered, they both ended up rather happy. So glad I managed to get this new picture of them. Of course, according to higher society laws, we're never supposed to get in touch with family, but I bent the rules just a little. I got into some trouble, of course, but that's a whole other story. Rest in peace, dear mother and father. It's not easy being an older sister, but being a younger brother must have also had its challenges. And Kolya. Poor Kolya. If only things worked out a little differently, maybe he would still be around. It was my fault. I miss him very much. Rest in peace, dear brother. Funny thing, for over a century I've lived so many lives. Different names, cities, friends, and enemies. I've seen more people live and die than one can count, or care to remember. But even after all this time, I still think about my family. They never faded away. I could have done things differently, and every day I have to live with my choices and my mistakes. Some of them are heavy and bury themselves deep in my gut. From what I hear, every vampire receives a keepsake like that sooner or later. Maybe that's the true payment for eternal life. Or maybe it's a part of any life, really. I don't know if they ever fully go away. If I'm honest, I don't think so. But they remind me to do things differently, to be better. And when I do, sometimes I feel human again. Last candle left. I think I know what I'll light it for. I've seen people in this country go through so much suffering. Wars, revolutions, tyranny, famine. So much has happened, and yet so little has changed. Some people say this country is cursed, hopeless. I don't know if I believe that. I've seen fates crushed by a short sentence. I've seen lives saved by a simple embrace. No matter what they say, a person's choice can make a difference, so you might as well do your best. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll all make enough of the good ones. And for now, there is hope. Demons may be hereditary, but we are in charge of them.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year!
Улицы плачут по белому снегу. Дворник не может очистить их серость. Пьяный он смотрит на красные руки. Тень на глазах умирает со скуки. Если чудеса только в фильмах, если чудеса только в книжках. Кому я молюсь? Кому я молюсь? Дети в подвале мучают кошку. Я подпеваю, дышу понарошку. Белое платье моей пустоты так не к лицу мне. Не приходи